What's up guys, ZiSotto here, and today we're looking at the patch notes for patch 4.23, Rally to Rome. As usual, we'll focus on the balance changes and talk about the skins a little bit beforehand. This patch is not too huge, so we should be through it relatively quickly, and we have some other things to talk about in that context as well, in the context of this very patch. We have the new skins. We have Defiant, I think it's Defiant, or is it Defiant? Yeah, it's Defiant. Apparently up here is Defiant Bologna. A kind of Suicide Squad themed skin with kind of similar weapons to like the normal skins. Like the hammer is still a hammer and the more of a sledgehammer, but the 3 is still kind of the same chained whip, but it has a lot of like neon colored effects. I think it looks pretty cool. I think it looks pretty cool in game as well, which is nice. And yeah, that's that skin. Then we have Badlands Vulcan, kind of going the same route as a recent skin. I actually forgot who it was for. Coolin, exactly. Kind of having this Borderlands, Mad Max, post-apocalyptic theme. Looks pretty cool. Doesn't look that special in game in terms of effects, I think. Chaos and Order Hell, or in Chaos Hell, really cool. I really like the skin. Really nice job on that by Hyris. Cool voice lines as well, like typical interactions between the two skins, like in the voice pack. So, definitely cool skin. Abyssal Knight Ares. One of the few skins where I would say he actually looks better in game than on the card. On the card you can't really tell all his like moving effects and whatnot, and his shield is actually like basically more or less alive. And he has a special effect as well, where the shield will go up and float in the air while he like waves his hands and speaks in tongues, and there's like dark background music and whatnot. So that's pretty cool, like just specifically for this skin. So I like that skin for that effect at least, even though at first I thought, wait, well, that's not that cool. Then we got mastery skins for this Goria, which look kind of awkward because she still has the same wing color, though the diamond skin does have a diamond apple, so that's pretty cool. Then we have Hell, also good mastery skins I would say, and we have Vulcan, and the mastery skins for him look kind of like the default, more or less. So yeah, that's the skins. We'd quickly do the voice packs as well as always. If you're a headphone user, maybe turn on your headphone a little bit. This may be very loud. Let's go.
Sorry for being late. I got caught up enjoying my last few minutes of not being here.
My crew and I will spread blight over this blooming paradise.
Order has always been weak. Chaos will once again take over and burn this place to ash.
I will not let you get away with this.
Try and stop me!
Quick voice line there.
Do you have a moment to talk about our Lord and Savior, the old god?
Yeah, these obviously don't have voice packs because they're all just skins. In the Odyssey, we'll find the Bologna skin, the Vulcan skin, the Hell skin, and the Salty Global Emote. So that's mine. That's my new one. So that's pretty cool. And obviously, new emotes, yeah. And then we already at the changes, or specifically, first we have a fix here. The Vulcan fix, Earth... the Earth Shaker, which is supposed to be an Earth Shaker, but I like the Earth Shaker as well. Somebody got stuck on the salt part there. So this has actually a funny description as well. Updated effects to be less scary for allies of Vulcan. So you don't actually Aegis your allied Vulcan's ultimate. I think that's a neat, little change that doesn't really have any major impacts on most, but, in that occasional situation where you're not paying attention and you think there's a Vulcan on the enemy team, or there is a Vulcan on the enemy team, you're not sure if you should Aegis or not. There you go. I think it's good. And that brings us to item balance, starting with Jade Emperor's Crown, but beforehand they have the statement that there's just gonna be like smaller adjustments because they don't really want to throw over any bigger balance things for the pros anymore, now that they're scrimming, now that they're practicing in the current meta for Worlds. So that's what we'll see for the most part. And from what I've heard so far, there's gonna be some spicy strats coming out as well. So it might be, hopefully, exciting in some way. All I know so far is that some of the things that I've actually heard about aren't even the spiciest ones. So there could be some interesting stuff. And as such, I'm not discontent with Worlds being played on the current patch, or the current in the current state. And I hope that what I've heard so far won't fail us. So, Jade Emperor's Crown, Physical protection reduced from 60 to 50. This obviously puts it a bit more in competition with another physical defense aura item, which is Sovereignty. That was previously not bought as much anymore. But Jade Amp still has its own effect with a power reduction. Time to do the math on that again and see which one's better now, but it might not be all that impactful. It's just 10 protections for the user himself and not touching the passive here. And then we have Gladiator's Shield, one of those items that has been strong, like, basically since the start. At the start, people didn't buying it as much. As it got this one buff in between where the healing was increased, I think. But I think it was already a very good item at the start. Has been picked up more and more through the seasons, especially after the buffs, and has become the dominant solo lane item. Now seeing a nerf, physical protection reduced from 35 to 30. Nothing crazy, but a little bit, and I think that's good. And maybe puts it a bit more in line, at least gives you more of a reason to trade it out late game. Executioner, one of the most bloated items we have at the moment, sees a nerf, reduced physical power from 35 to 30. Nothing crazy again, but a good change in the right direction because Executioner was just very strong in many regards. I'm pretty sure it will still be in every hunter build regardless, but at least now it's not quite as overwhelmingly stupidly strong. Just a little less, you know. A little more what it was once before it got so many buffs. And then we have Devourer's Gauntlet. Price increased from 2,000 to 2,100. Also probably not gonna change Devourer's use. Could maybe open some more options for like not going lifesteal at all. But then again, it's just 100 gold at the end of the day. And I think probably nothing that would throw over the meta. Especially now that the gods that depend on trends more are actually depending on it less than before. Like for example, Olar, just the overall mana cost reduction that we see across the board will just make Devils a favorable item for many still. Hydra's Lament gets a buff, increasing the bonus basic attack damage from 30 to 40%. It's just 10%, but it's 10% per ability plus basic. So if you have a god that attack cancels a lot, then this becomes more beneficial and it can easily become like 30% extra damage. So that I think is a good step in the right direction for Hydras. This is specifically done because so many warrior, so many anti-warrior and anti-guardian items have been kind of, you know, more adjusted towards hunters, Executioner, and Titan's Bane, especially with a nerf. That was kind of disregarding the assassins. So the items that are looked at right now are the assassins items to give them something back. So Hydras gets a little more damage, and Jotun's Wrath gets a price reduction by 100 gold from 2,450 to 2,350. Also going in the same line. Now you can actually build both and get decent benefit out of it, I think. So overall, I think interesting changes here, good changes, but still very small changes because we're not going to see anything major before Season 5 anymore. I don't think this will completely overthrow the meta or anything like that. But, you know, always nice to see the roles that are kind of a bit underwhelming at the moment get pushed a little more as well. Guard Balance. The Willish one sounds like a lot. It really isn't. Fixed an issue where this ability went further than the target has suggested, 73 instead of the intended 65. Increased the range of this ability from 65 to 70. So actually it's a 3 units range nerf because it went beyond the targeter. And now the target is longer and it's gonna hit till the end of the targeter. At the same time, the buff part here kinda is Gravity Surge, where the range of this ability is increased from 70 to 75, meaning you have an easier time pulling someone when they just get like out of range while getting knocked up or something, then you will still be able to pull them. And it was quite awkward sometimes if you had someone at the edge of the Gravity Surge and you couldn't pull them. So that's a buff. Overall, that doesn't change anything about how a Willish is played or anything, so I don't think it's anything major. What's more impactful for her is actually the Hydra's buff, if anything. So yeah, that's a Willish for you. Camazotz, on the other hand, gets a buff. Increased physical power buff from catching the echo from 10 to 30 to 20 to 40. A little more extra power for Camazotz because he's been underperforming. He's not been doing as well anymore after he was hit with a nerf hammer quite hard. Brings him up a bit more. Again, I think a lot of other assassins would need it more, but Hysa specifically stated that they're not going to do much about very low tier guys at the moment, but rather focus on keeping the balance as it is and just like doing like slight adjustments. So we can probably expect a lot more changes for the next patch, maybe if that's not applied for Worlds, or otherwise for Season 5 for those guards at the bottom tiers. Discordia, reduce magical damage, magical power scaling from 70 to 60% on Strife. Well, it's a little bit of a change. I can't even say much on Discordia because some people think that she's completely overpowered, some people think she's underpowered, which generally makes me think that maybe she's not in the worst spot. I think she's still more towards the stronger side, which is kind of indicated here by a nerf as well. And I can imagine she could be pretty crazy and competitive in a coordinated team. But she also has her weaknesses, so we'll see how she develops from here. I am not unhappy with her release date compared to other gods, so if it got slightly overtuned, I can handle that, as opposed to completely broken. And from what we've seen so far, she is not completely broken in everyone's hands, at least. Fafnir gets a nerf to Curse, Career's Curse, whatever. Increase the cooldown from 15 seconds to 16 seconds, just very minor, but changed attack speed buff from 10 to 50% to 15 to 35%, meaning a little more attack speed early on, but a fair bit less in late game. 50% less per character in dragon form is quite a lot of difference. And that's something worth keeping in mind, especially for structure push, for objective push. But at the same time, it's still an incredibly strong steroid. And I think some guards didn't even make use of the 50% previously because they were already so close to attack speed cap anyways that 35 is pretty much sufficient for them anyways. So I don't think it will change much about his overall placement in the meta. I think he'll still be one of the best guards in competitive, and that's why he's getting this nerf before Worlds, because otherwise he would just probably be banned all the time. So, yeah, I can see this nerf as a good step in the right direction. I don't think it's going to destroy him, and I can also imagine some casual players, ranked players, being a bit frustrated about this one. Kukulkan gets extra 5 base movement speed. He's a little faster. That's okay. Medusa, a Viper Shot. Increased base damage from 10 to 30 to 15 to 35. This is per shot of the Viper Shot. So I actually think this could be quite impactful with how Viper Shot works. It's a lot better trading if you're like hitting those early on. And I think it gives her more bully potential. And realistically, she really needed that. Once upon a time, she was a clear monster, and that was her strength. And then she got nerfed in that regard multiple times until she just wasn't. And now she's just kind of not there as much, but she's always a very enjoyable guard to see at LAN, because if you can pull off a cool ultimate, that's just nice to see. So having Viper Shot making up for other weaker spots now a little bit, I think is a good change. Ra's performance has been continually declining through the second half of Season 4. What we're doing here is we're buffing Divine Light. Increase the base damage from 60 to 220 to 70 to 270. Increase the magical power from 40 to 55%. Reduced mana cost from 60 to 100 to 60 to 80. Mana cost was absolutely ridiculous. I don't know where that was ever a thing. Just old values basically. And the power I can see, and the scaling I can see on this actually, because really Divine Light doesn't do much at the moment when you're in an enemy's face. They mostly don't care much. They turn away for the blind, and that's about it, if they even do that. So yeah, I don't think this is a bad change. I think Ra wasn't underperforming, but this is not gonna make him all crazy all of a sudden. It's not gonna make everyone use Divine Light for clear all the time, because in the end, to use the ability, you still have to position yourself very risky, which you don't want to do with a character that doesn't have any other escape potential outside of that, except for extra movement speed. So you gotta find a way to, you know, give him something just a little bit while not overtuning him. So any extra damage to the 1 or the 3, like extra healing or the ult, would have just not been fitting, not been good, because that's safe damage for him. But this unsafe damage is something he rarely gets to use anyways, unless heavily aggressed on. And having a bit more of a protection mechanism against that, I think is fair. I don't have a problem with this buff. I know some people do, but I think it's fine. Susano, likewise, is a buff I don't have a problem with. Wind Siphon increased base damage from 60 to 120 to 80 to 180. Nothing crazy there. Nothing that's, you know, gonna destroy anyone entirely. It's just wasn't that much damage before. And his other abilities are the ones that typically deal the major chunk of the damage, on the other ones that you max first anyways. So this is more towards late game, if at all. Yeah. So I think this is okay. Susanoo, I know that a lot of people hate Susanoo and hate seeing buffs to him, but Susanoo, for all that he was worth, with his new passive and everything, hasn't seen much play at all. And I've played him and he did not feel very strong at all. It's just not very impressive. Sure, in the right hands, he can still do very well if you do the perfect attack cancels and whatnot. But for most players, I think there were just better options to pick, and giving him a little bit of the damage back without attack canceling or anything, I think is fair. We have to keep in mind, though, that in the same patch, 2 of his other very good items, being Jotun's Wrath and Hydra's Lament, also get buffs. So that could affect him and could actually push him up a little higher than intended from this buff in itself. That's it for the patch notes in themselves, but I have some points that I want to talk about here as well. Kukulkan wasn't nerfed before Worlds, which I think is a strange step. I'm not sure if there's any way in the next patch for him to still be changed, but I think from what I understood, this is the patch that Worlds going to be played on. There's not much to say. Yeah, we had the rant yesterday. I just don't understand the decision here. Furthermore, Smite's been having a lot of performance issues. I had a video about this actually before many of the issues arose. I made it a day before the last patch came out. And when the patch came out, there was just... nothing worked for anyone. And now we have Anubis deactivated because he crashes the game, and so many things along those lines that are just very dissatisfying. And I'm kind of irritated that we didn't get any statement, any apology, any compensation, or anything from Hi-Rez. I'm not the one to say we want gems for that or anything like that, but just at least acknowledge that there's been major issues in the last patch, things that really didn't work like they should have for a longer period of time, and that there's still issues that they're working on, rather than just blatantly ignoring it, is something that I would feel would be appropriate. Maybe not my place to say. It's their decision what they're going to do with how they present themselves, but I think it's very frustrating when the quality of the game as itself, in terms of playing it and getting into a match in the first place, and then having people that don't lag out during the match, has been declining over the last weeks, especially. And I was actually hoping we get another Project Olympus change in this patch or something, maybe coding some new matchmaking or something, who knows. We have none of that. But we'll have to suck it up, I guess, and see and hope that Season 5 brings change there. And with that, thank you guys very much for watching. If you're watching this on YouTube and you're new to the channel, feel free to click the sub button and maybe the bell. It really helps me out. And it gives you the chance to win some codes, which will be down in the description, linked down below. Other than that, see you for the next one tomorrow. SLOTH, out.